they go kind of in opposite directions. But I guess we'll start with your back injury because that's a good segue there. I know you had some back discomfort like when we worked together in college. Was it like back then? I remember thinking it was a sciatic issue. Like whenever you use volume with back exercises, it seemed like it would bother you. Can you kind of elaborate on how that evolved?
Yeah, so, and I didn't even really think about my back struggles in college as being the same thing. They felt really different. So
Okay.
I would characterize my like back pain and in college more as I just felt like I got a back pump super fast, and it would take a while for it to dissipate. And I don't really struggle with that anymore. I don't really know what happened, necessarily what changed, but it's just not something that's on my radar. So
Hmm.
I don't have a great explanation for that. But the back pain that I struggled with in the last 3 years, I would say I'm out of it now. But
Oh, that's great.
in 20, yeah, in 2020, I worked as a oyster hatchery technician, and it's a labor job. I mean, you're throwing 35-pound oyster bags around, 50-pound boxes of salt. Like it's just a
Oh,
labor job every day, in and out. It was a great experience, but some of the tasks there were not well balanced for the amount of staff that we had. So I ended up hurting my back. And that was in May of 2020.
okay.
And so that kind of coincided with taking time off from lifting with the pandemic. So I didn't have access to equipment, but also I was trying to heal. Unfortunately, I was still required to do all the labor tasks that hurt my back in the first place. I still had to do those, so I couldn't rest fully. And I think that's probably why my back injury lasted so long, because it wasn't until I left that position that I started seeing progress. I did go to
Hmm.
PT for like 6 months because they thought that it was glute issues, like tight glutes, you're not doing enough mobility.
Yeah.
And the problem was like I was strong. So, excuse my dog barking. But so I was strong. So all my strength was there. It was just like I couldn't tie my shoes because that involved
Ah,
bending my lower back. And so everything revolved around it. And part of stretching and doing physical therapy for stretching out your glutes is a lot of bending your lower back. And after
hmm.
6 months of training of physical therapy, my chiropractor had finally said, okay, we need to get you an MRI because you should be seeing progress. He's like,
Hmm.
all the indicators, your flexibility is there. I don't see anything, the reason why. And the MRI results ended up showing me that I had a bulge disc. And you know what they say for bulge
Oh.
disc? Don't bend it. And I had spent 6 months bending it on purpose and bending
Mm.
it during my job. So that was really a tough time because I felt kind of like I'm not going to leave this job early,
Hmm.
even though that would probably be what would have helped me sooner. But I only had a 10-month contract, so it was just like counting down the days. Just got to get through it.
Yeah.
And once I stopped going to PT, I did get, what are they called? They're the shots that they give you.
Cortisone shot?
Yes, yeah. I did get I got 2 sets of those. And neither of them really worked for me.
Okay. Where did they inject those for a disc?
They inject it next to the disc from when I'm in my L4 and L5 were bulged. So,
okay.
And they do it like they do one and then one treatment, and then a couple months later, like 2 or 3 months later, they'll do another one. But the whole process actually, they numb you, but you're sore still after. So I just felt like by the time that I was done being sore from them injecting it, I had no difference in pain. So I just stopped doing that. That contract ended. And then it was like a breath of fresh air. I didn't have to do manual labor, and I could be really strategic with my workouts and my trainings and making sure that I'm actually avoiding causing stress to that area. And I'll say we did the very, 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 very slow process of building back up. And for me, I worked with Bill, and we figured out what I was comfortable with. And eventually I could start squatting. And I squatted 95 pounds some weeks and slowly built it up. Then introduced RDLs. I had RDL'd for, I think I started the RDLs in early 2021. And I did not deadlift from the floor until like 3 months before my most recent meet. I RDL'd for so long. And that's the
over
only
a year. Thing. How long is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's because it worked. It allowed me, with the equipment that I had, to focus on my hamstrings, build up my lower back. And I mean, it was slow work. And it was also volume work too. A lot of the times I was doing 4x10s. And then as the weight increased, we drop it to maybe 4x6s. But for a long time, it was like 4x10s. And every week, just linear progression. Just keep, as long as I'm comfortable, as long as I'm able to handle the workload. And I think I had, over the last 2 years, I had signed up for, I think, 2 separate meets. One was a full power meet. That was because I got super excited because I was feeling really good. And then things started taking, I had jumped the gun. I was a little bit too eager. So I pulled out of that meet and then decided to do a bench only meet. And that was fabulous. I loved doing a bench only meet. It gave me all of the thrill and the purpose in training to get on the platform again and give me a taste of what all those all the little squats and little deadlifts or lightweight or a lot of variations to work on different parts of the movement. It just gave all of that, like, just reignited the fire for it. So and I did my most recent meet in March this year, and that was my first full power meet since 2019 raw mats.
Yeah, And right, so basically, we'll call it 3 years and 3 months ish. Right, that's most people I feel like would have given up at that point. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah. For me, the part that